I'm Bob Christmas, head football coach at North Hall High School in Gainesville, Georgia. I think the key to being successful in football on any level is the ability of the coaches to be multiple in their approach without being complicated. Our rule of thumb is if it causes confusion on the part of the players, then we just don't do it. I've always seen people using shifts, trades, and motions, and always thought it would be something very, very difficult to do. In fact, I'd been to coaching clinics and had a hard time understanding how they doing what they're doing. But we've come up with a system here that utilizes shifts, trades, and motions that I think is a system that is not complicated, that doesn't cause confusion on the part of your players, and has definitely given us an advantage in a football game over our opponents. I want to ask our offensive coordinator at this point, Dave Bishop, to come up and talk to you about using trades, shifts, and motion in your offensive approach.
Thank you, Coach Christmas. First of all, I'd like to start off by telling you why we use trade, shifts, and motions at North Hall High School. There's a purpose behind it. Our goal is to go ahead and get an advantage over our opponents as well as win games from those. The first reason we use trade, shifts, and motions is to give the opponent something else to work on other than your base plays. If they spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes a week working on how they're going to defend this, that means there's time spent that they are not working on what you do best. That in itself gives you an advantage. Secondly, it helps put your strengths against their weaknesses if they don't adjust. If your opponent does not spend time working on how to defend this, we can go ahead and put our best players against their weak sets. Meaning, I can take my tight end, who may be on the strong side of their defense, trade him over and put him up against the guy who's not used to playing maybe a 7 technique, but rather a 5 technique. We have the capabilities of setting up other plays. When we get into trades and shifts, obviously we're looking at 2 different formations in one set. We line up one way and then we shift to another. But in that first set, we may find out, hey, we need to be running this play out of this formation. And that has happened to us as we've done this in the past. And it's also, we've been trading over, running a play, recognizing that, hey, over here, this is what we need to be running. And it's helped us out tremendously as well. The other thing that you gain, you could potentially see 2 adjustments in one set. Meaning, if I line up in an unbalanced set and then shift into something like a regular set, I get how the defense may line up to us against unbalanced. And then as we shift over, we may get how they line up to us in our regular set. So again, another advantage helps us be able to determine how they're going to do things to us with just one play. And then lastly, one of the other reasons why is because it can change assignments versus man coverages quickly. And I want to give an example. Several years back when we put this in, we were in a passing camp. And the first play, broke the huddle, got out there, and the guys are all pointing, I've got this guy, I've got this guy, I've got this guy. And they were lined up, straight man coverage all the way across the board. Next play, we came out and we said, hey guys, let's have a little fun. We threw in a shift. They lined up and started pointing. We shifted. They're running all over the place. Then they have to repoint. And after about the 3rd or 4th play, they just totally got out of running straight man and went to zone. So those are some of the reasons we use and some of the whys on why we put it in for North Hall High School. Now that we have the why we're implementing this out of the way, I think it's important for us to discuss our terminology, our nomenclature for positions in our offense. Different offenses term different players with different letters and things like that, but for you to follow along, I think it's going to be important for you to understand what I'm talking about by position. So the first position I want to talk to you about is our H. Our H is our halfback, and he's going to be inside the house unless we have a formation that's going to put him, one, possibly into a wing position. We could put him into a wide slot, or we could also put him into a flanker position. The second player we want to talk about is our X. Our X is our split end, and his alignments are going to be adjusted dependent upon the type of formation that we have. He could be in a snug set, he could be in a squeeze set, or he could be all the way out here in our wide set. But he's on the line of scrimmage unless a type of motion will get him off the line. But other than that, he'll always be out here, split out, and on the line of scrimmage. The next position is our Y. Our Y is our tight end. And that tight end could be in here like you see now. He could be split out. And again, all the different types of formations may put him in different places, but we're still going to call him Y, and that Y again is our tight end. And the last position I want to talk to you about that will be affecting what we're talking about today is our Z. Our Z right here is our wing back. And unless a formation takes him from this place, he'll always be there. He again, like the H, can be in a wide slot and also a flanker. First thing we want to talk about is our trades. For us, the trades are a Y-only adjustment. So when we're talking Y, we're talking this adjustment for our tight end. Secondly, what you need to know is that the Y will line up opposite the formation that we call. And now the Y will shift on the quarterback's commands. So let's look at an example. Example call for us may be trade left flex wing. So for us, left flex wing is the formation. Trade is talking to the Y, so we're telling the Y, hey, you line up opposite the formation, that's called. On the quarterback's command, you'll shift over into this formation that's called left flex wing. Now that you understand what a trade is, what I've got illustrated up here for you is a left flex wing prior to our Y trading over. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. Again, this is still showing you left flex wing prior to my Y trading over. My quarterback's going to bark the command, that command being shift. When you hear shift, the tight end's going to trade over. Again, now we're in a left flex wing. And to give you an idea, let's take a look at a cut up to show you what it looks like on a game tape. Tight end trades over after quarterback's command. And again, now we're in the left flex wing. All right. The second thing we want to discuss with you is our slide. Our slides are an H and Z adjustment. How we do this, each back, and this gets a little wordy, but each back lines up to the call side of the formation, but as the opposite back. So this way, if I'm in a rip wing formation, my Z is normally on the right, my H is on the left. But what we tell them is they're going to line up as the opposite back. So this way now, my Z is still going to line up to the right, but as a halfback in the backfield. My H is going to line up on the left as he normally would, but as a Z on that. Okay, so that's where we get that. They line up as the opposite backs. The backs then will slide to their position on the quarterback's command. Again, he will call shift, and those backs will slide in. An example call for us may be slide, rip wing. This is this is a slide rip wing prior to our quarterback calling shift. Again, what you see is our H is on the left side. He's lined up like a wing back. Our wing back is lined up on the right side, but he's lined up as an H in the backfield. So let's take a look at an animation and see what that'll look like. Again, like we just showed you. H on the left, like a wing back. Z on the right, like a halfback. We call shift. Those guys slide over, and now we get into our rip wing formation. A little cut up, kind of give you a better idea of what it looks like in a game. Again, you notice our halfback right here on the left-hand side like a wingback. Our halfback or our wingback in the backfield like a halfback, those guys will slide over on quarterback's command. Now each one of those were slide rip wing, so you could see, we have other formations and ways to get into different formations using slide, but that's one of the primaries that we use. The next thing we want to talk to you guys about for us at North Hall are flips. Flips are a combination. What they are is a combination of both a trade and a slide. Flips are also an H, a Y, and a Z adjustment. So what that does for us is it takes our Y and puts him back to his trade rules. He's going to line up opposite the formation on the quarterback's command. He'll trade over. That also tells our backs they're going to utilize their slide rules. So the backs will line up opposite call side, and then or they'll line up to the call side and slide to their position. Again, it's their slide rules. And all the above happens on the quarterback's commands. Players end up in the called formation. An example of one of our calls may be flip, rip wing. What we have here right now is a diagram of our rip wing or flip rip wing prior to the quarterback calling shift. So really what we get is an unbalanced set right here. So let's take a look at animation and see what it would look like in real time. Again, I want to illustrate. Our Y's over here, he's going to be trading. Our H is lined up like a wing back. He's going to slide here. Our wing back is lined up like a halfback, and he'll slide up into his position. And we get all that happening on quarterback's command. Good example in a cut up. And again, one of the things we want to do is make it quick. Make the defense have to adjust quickly, recognize the formation, and make their adjustments on the run. The next item is a shift. Shift is more fun for our kids because it can be a call that can be between all the skill players. We can go into a game and just call shift, or we can game plan it in our scouting reports all week. Players are going to line up where they want to. As long as it's a spot, they can line up during the game. So what we tell our X's and Y's is, guys, you are on the line. You line up wherever you can in the game, but it must be on the line. As well as backs. Backs, you can line up anywhere you want as long as it is off the line of scrimmage and it's somewhere you could line up in the game. Quarterback, again, calls shift. All players will then shift to the formation. An example, call might be shift, rip wing. What we have is an illustration up here of a pre-snap of a shift, rip wing. It could look a whole lot different than this. It's up to where our players want to line up. So let me take a look at the animation and how we would get into the rip wing from this. Again, you're going to see a whole lot of people moving around, and now we're into our rip wing formation. Let's take a look at cut-ups. What I want to do is stop this right here. This is what we call our Liz wing formation. This was a gamed planned shift going into our Buford game. Okay? We're going to line up into our base formation and shift into something totally different. Again, game planned. What we've done is shift from a base formation into our heavy unbalanced formation on this side, and it was a opportunity for us to pick up some yardage against the tough Buford defense. Next one, another game plan shift. Again, our base formation down here, you can see this is our rip wing formation. We're going to shift into something totally different, something we saw on game tape against Hart County. Like we said, we don't just use this to look pretty. We use this to gain advantages against the people we play against as well as win games. So we put together a cut-up called Winning with Shifts. It's going to show you some opportunities that we had in games to make adjustments and win utilizing these things. The first game is how we utilize slides against White County in 2009. I'm going to stop this and pause it for a second. Their defensive end right here had been playing defensive tackle for the last few weeks. He'd been defensive tackle. I guess they decided they wanted to put him out here against our tight end and really create havoc, because one of the best plays we had is our buck sweep. And you'll see here in a second what happens when this guy lines up over here and what he does to not only our tight end but also our backside guard. Okay, you can just see that he created some havoc, destroyed the guy. So what we did is we got down on the goal line. We're over here, and you can see how close we are. We've got a two tight set right here, so now we've got another tight end lined up against this guy right here with the hopes that we're going to be able to get some movement on this guy. What I want to do is show you what he does here down on the goal line. And again, he's creating a whole lot of havoc, creating problems. We cannot run the buck sweep. We get in the second quarter, and all of a sudden, we notice where number 61 is lining up. And you'll see he's right here. The thing we recognize is not only is he lining up, he's not lining up to our tight end anymore. He's really lining up to wherever our wingback is. Now that we've recognized how he's lining up, we're going to use this against them. Okay, we run this play, we run away from them, but we don't want to always just get out there and run a wingback counter. We want to be able to utilize, again, our slides and take advantage. He's located right here. What looks like our wingback is right there. That's actually our halfback. Again, our wingback's back here. So we're going to slide into a rip wing formation, run away from that guy, and be able to run our buck sweep down here near on the goal line. Okay, now we're able to walk in. Again, we're going to look at it a second time. He's located over here. We're going to slide in again, another opportunity at the goal line. And we'll pick up 5 yards each shot. The next one I want to talk about is flips. This is the first round of the playoffs in 2009. We're going to flip over into a rip wing formation. Again, not a whole lot of adjustment right there. And we run this about 3 or 4 times in a row. We're able to pick up some yardage. But what I want to do is I want to stop this video right here. After running it about 3 times, the defense said, hey, they're not doing anything but lining up in one formation and trading over, so we're going to wait for them to trade. And if I were to draw a line right down the middle of the defense, you can notice that there are a lot more defenders over here than there are over here. This is actually an unbalanced set. I've got a guard, a tackle, a tight end, a wingback, and an X. We flip over and we realize there's no adjustment. So the next play, what do? We line up in an unbalanced set by setting up a play, and we run a buck sweep off the other side to score a touchdown. That was one of the big touchdowns of the game to help open things up. So you can see how this is not just something pretty and fancy. It's something as coaches, you recognize what the defense is doing, you take advantage of it, and help you to win games. Okay, now that we've talked to you about our shifts and trades, we also want to talk to you about our motions. And in North Hall, we use 2 different types of motions. we utilize what we call jet motion. And this motion is a full speed motion across the formation, and we use this as a type of decoy to run some other type of play other than what we call the jet sweep. We also utilize personnel motion. Personnel motion is used to move a specific player to a specific spot in order to gain some type of advantage with your personnel. All right, let's talk about jet motion first. The one thing I want you to realize is jet motion is called when we are using the motion of a jet sweep to set up or decoy another running play. At North Hall, we call jet motion right, Raptor, and we also call jet motion Lear. Why do we use those terms? They're terms for planes. They're a type of jet. We have a Raptor that's a jet and a Lear that's a jet. So rather than call jet motion right and jet motion left, that's what we do. Some examples of plays that we'll use off of jet motion or Raptor Lear motion. Some of those may be Raptor trap, down, blast. We may pitch it and crack it. We may utilize our waggle play, and also we use what we call a frosty, which is running jet motion across, quarterback calling hike, trying to draw the defense off sides. I want to give the illustrations what we have of two different formations so you get two different looks. Right now you may be questioning like who goes where. So what I want to do is use some animation here to determine how we know who goes where. All right, this top illustration, we really only have one person who can utilize jet motion. It's a motion that goes full speed across the formation, and that happens to be our Z-back. You're going to see him motion across. Again, that is Lear motion for us. Down at the bottom, we have two guys, but it only makes sense that the H can Raptor across because he's the only one that can go in jet motion right across the formation. All right, let's take a look at some cut-ups. And these are going to be quick. We're just showing what it looks like. This is some Lear motion with our wingback. Again, the only guy can go crossed. We have another Lear motion right there. And again, in this case, we have that look of formation. We're not sure who goes, but we're calling Raptor. Because we're calling Raptor, this back's the only one that could go across. Okay. Next thing we want to talk about is our personnel motions. And in order to understand our personnel motions, you have to understand what we call our numbering system. We use a set of numbers that we put together for our kids that tell them where they're going to go. If I just said, you know, jet motion right, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense other than I can get to the end of the formation. If I wanted to get out there a little further, I have no way to describe that to them, so that we have a numbering system. That numbering system has a set of rules, and the rules are as follows. If my guy is told to go to a 6 or 7, what that does for him is tell him he must end up with his motion to the last man on the line of scrimmage. Now realize that that could be a tight end as well as a tackle. What we also tell him is if we're talking about passing routes, he needs to realize that he's not always going to be a number 3 receiver in this case. He could be a number 2 or 3. And we'll show you some examples of that here in a minute. We can also tell guys to go to 8 or 9. And what 8 or 9 will do, we'll put those guys in a slot right, wide slot right or wide slot left. And the simple rule for them is now, because of the way we deal with our passing game, you will always be a number 2. You'll either be a number 2 on the right or a number 2 on the left. And lastly, a 10 and 11. 10 and 11 motions our player to the wide flanker position, and will always make him number 1. Now that you know the numbering system, let's talk about our personnel motions a little bit more. Why we do it is it gives us the ability to motion any player from any place to any spot. The guys we can motion our X, our Y, our Z, our H, our T, which is our tailback, or what we also call our fullback. And how we do this is we tell who goes in motion by calling their position. So we could say Z, and when Z hears that in the huddle, he recognizes, hey, they're telling me to go in motion. Well, how do I know where? We tell the player where. Where in this case we're going to use, for example, is 9. So what does that mean? What should he hear? What he should be hearing is, here's an example of formation or call with motion. Rip 8 for us is the formation. Z9 is the motion. So Z recognizes, okay, I'm going to line up here and I'm going to motion to the 9 position. So what does that look like? Well, first of all, you got to know what our Rip 8 looks like. Not that it matters, but this is what a Rip 8 looks like. Our Z will be located out here as a number 1. We're also telling them to go into a Z9. So let's take a look at the animation. And again, help you figure out what we're talking about. Again, here's an illustration of Rip 8, Z9. We're going to take our Z back and we're going to motion him to the 9 spot. Now we've moved him all the way across the formation just by telling him, tagging it by his position and number and where to go. Well, I said we can motion anybody. Yes, I can motion an X and I can motion a Y. Some people step guys on and some people step them off. We just find it easier to go ahead and use a communication system. So in this case it says, how do I get an X or a Y to go in motion? Well, we tell the X and Y, guys, you find the closest back out of the house and you tell them, I'm off, you're on. The system has worked well for us. So in this case, I'm trying to get an X, as you can see by the illustration, to do some motioning. All right? The example, what I did is put together a motion, a formation, a motion, and a play. So what we've said is Rocks 8. This is what Rocks 8 looks like to us. We used a motion called X6. So we're telling the X to go in motion to the 6 spot, and we're going to run a 52 smash off of it. So let's go ahead and check out this animation, give you a little bit better illustration of what we're trying to do. Okay? Again, here's the call. Rocks 8 is formation. X6 is the motion. 52 smash for us is the call. You're going to see our X go in motion to the 6, and we're going to run a 52 smash off of that. Pretty simple. What I want to do is give you also some cut-ups of some of the motions that we've run. And as you can see right here, we've got an X motion. It's called X10. So we're running the X to the 10 spot way out here. And then we're going to run a play right off of it, which the next is we've got a Z motion. So now my Z, who's located right here, is going to motion again out to the 10 spot and run a play off of that as well. We are now going to run an H motion. We're going to tell H to run to a 6. Lastly, you've seen everybody so far being outside, motioning across. Now what I want to do is give you one example of a person being in the house, motioning out of the house into another number. So in this case, we're using an H9 motion. Again, he steps up, motions across, he's now to the 9 position, and then the ball is snapped. Just to reiterate what we've already said, we don't put this in just to look pretty and to have something that looks like window dressing. We put it in with a purpose. Again, that purpose is to win and gain advantages against our opponent. So what I want to do is show you a little cut up, what we've labeled winning with motions. Again, this is just one example of how we've been able to win games with motions. The video you're going to see is us versus Hart County in 2008. It's the first round of the playoffs at our stadium. What I want to do is show you this first play right here with a motion. It's what we call, again, our jet motion. The play we're running off is not really a play, but it's a called thing. We call it Frosty. The purpose of Frosty is two things. One, we're going to take our wingback, again, we're putting him in leer motion. We're trying to get either one or two things. We're either trying to get the defense to jump off sides, because when he gets to about the quarterback, we're going to call hike. We're also looking out on that defense to see where we may gain an advantage. One of the plays we like to run is in this area right here. We like to run a quick pitch, and with this guy coming down and cracking. With that being said, if they don't jump off sides, we actually have this set up because they're going to blitz inside. If we were to quick pitch outside, it may be a big gain. I'm going to stop this again right here. You can't see it at this moment, but up at this marker, you'll see that it's fourth down. It's fourth down and a long two. We've got to get right about past that guy's heels for a first down. We're in the fourth quarter. There's about 6.5 minutes left to go. Again, this is the first round of playoffs. It's tied 7-7. So we've already got them to jump off sides one time. We've already run a Raptor with this formation. So we're hoping to see if we can get them to jump off sides in this situation. Again, we're going to take this wing back. We're going to put him in motion. I want you to watch the defensive adjustment as he goes in motion on this play. Again, we don't get to have them draw off sides, but we find something of interest for us. We're trying to figure out, do we want to go for it? Now, it's a good time. We call timeout. And what we found was this cornerback, who was located right here, he bailed out. This one backer took off and ran in man motion with that guy right there, somewhat leaving a bubble right in this area. So we decide we're going to go ahead and go for it. And we'll show you how that sets up real quick. Again, we get in the same formation. We're running a play that we have never, ever run in this situation. I'm going to stop it right there. The only difference between what we have now and what we had before is my halfback was located over here. He would have been a lead blocker on a jet sweep or our Raptor up top. We flipped him and put him on this side, and we're going to, again, tack this bubble. You're going to see this guy goes in motion. Again, the corner bails, but to help us out this time, they're going to send this guy inside on a blitz. We're going to pick up a big play in a huge situation right here. Again, 4th and 2, 4th 2.5. We pick up 21, 22 yards. We're able to go down, pick up a few more yards, and then also get a first down and kick a field goal to win the game with about a minute and a half left to go in the game. Well, you may ask yourselves, well, what do we do to get our players ready to know this? First of all, it starts in the off season. We'll get them in, we'll have meetings, we'll discuss it. We'll go ahead and maybe give out some like little scouting report type deals on just our shifts, trades, and motions. We'll work with them in this room. But how do we do it during the season and out of season so they can understand it a little bit better? Again, the key to success for us and for any program is repetition. Not just repetition, but quality reps. So what we do is when we start getting out of the classroom, when we start getting onto the field, we put together what we call a huddle/formation drill. We're going to work on our huddle procedure. We'll also work on our formations, and those formations will implement our shifts, trades, and motions in them. In about a 5-minute period, we're able to take two groups, get in about 20 to 25 reps, and I want to show you how that's done, kind of explain it, spend a minute or two so you can get an idea if you want to be able to do that with how like we do. Okay, what we have is offense. We'll have 3 different offensive coaches. One working with Huddle A, one working with Huddle B, and another coach right there in the middle. All of us will have scripts. We're going to have listed on there the formation. So Huddle A is going to call the formation. We're going to sprint out here. We may work our shifts and trades in there. And this coach right here obviously is going to have the script as well. He'll be able to determine whether it's right or wrong. When he's done, he's going to blow the whistle. As soon as he blows it, that huddle's off. This huddle comes on quickly. Let's take a look at 1 or 2 reps. you can kind of get an idea of the tempo at which we're trying to get this in. And what you're going to see right here is we work formation, now we're working a trade over. Coach blows the whistle, everything was fine. Next group coming in. While they're doing that, this other group's getting their next call. They're ready. Let me show you one more real quick and kind of give you an explanation on how we set up our script. Okay, I'm going to pause that right there. What we like to do is when I set up my script, I like to be able to take huddle A and make them do everything to the right-hand side. I'll take this out of huddle, and they'll be doing the same exact formation, the same exact trade or motion, but they're going to be doing it to the left side. What'll happen is when we get to the bottom of the script, now we switch. So we'll both be doing opposites. Huddle A that may have been doing the right side is now doing left, and huddle B that may have been doing the left side is doing right. With that being said, I'd like to bring Coach Christmas back here and close out the session.
Thank you, Coach Bishop. Guys, I think Coach did a great job of explaining this to you. It's logical, and if you'll take the time to rep it, as Coach said, we spend about 5 minutes every day repping our formations, our shifts, our slides, our trades, and our motions. And if you'll take that time and do it every day, I think you'll find that this would be something that would be beneficial to you and help you win on